channel. Today we're going to take a child's book and turn it into paper beads. Now, I don't just go buy a book and cut it up. I look for books that are no longer any good. And what I mean by that, I mean kids have written in them, kids have torn them up. Maybe there's a little bit of water damage on part of the book, but you can salvage the other part of the book. This one got picked because this is one of those search it books, and I'll show you. This is one of those things where it says, look for these items. Well, whoever owned this book prior to, they thought it was a book that you're supposed to write in. So they have already found everything. So the book is no good to nobody else because whoever had it went ahead and circled everything. So I'm going to cut this book up. Now, is it going to make the prettiest beads? I don't know. They're probably going to be more like confetti beads. So let's get started and make some beads out of it. So let me put you on the tripod-y thing and we will go from there. Okay, so first of all, we have to cut the pages out of the book. You can sometimes just rip them, but I prefer to go ahead and cut them. I just go in with the case cutter, box cutter, whatever you want to call it, and I just try to cut into that, into it. Okay, so then you have your sheets. Okay, then you have sheets. Now, this paper is a little bit on the thicker side, so it's going to make for great beads. There is a sheen to the paper, so you might need to use tacky glue if you have trouble with the school glue. But the nice thing about this book is that on the pages that have the what you're supposed to search for, on the opposite side, it has images. So I won't have any writing on any of this from this book, except for the very last pages or something. That's the only thing I'll have to deal with. But at the same time, I have some really pretty pink paper if I decide to make just pink beads. Now, and then I don't waste this. What I will do with the book cover now is I will use it on my desktop for painting over and that kind of thing. So I use every bit of the book I can use until I can't use it no more. I don't waste it. All right, so now I've got paper. So now I have to decide, am I going to do my beads from left to right or top to bottom? I'm going to turn the page horizontally and go from top to bottom. Get out my trusted paper cutter. All right, so, and then you just have to decide what beads you're what size beads you're gonna make. I'm gonna start with my traditional. I believe it's 3/4. And I'm going to do 2 beads first. I'll measure that in a minute for you guys to be exact. Sometimes the paper cutter doesn't go all the way through, so you just have to keep a pair of scissors on hand to cut your end. So let me get out a ruler and tell y'all exactly what the measurements are. So the fat end is about 3/4, and the skinny end has a little bit. Oh, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 1/8 of an inch, roughly. Again, none of this has to be perfect. Then I'm going to get my bead rolling tool. There's a gentleman on Etsy who sells them. That's because of pencil. That's the kind that looks dirty. It's because I used in pencil when I drew lines on the back of food packaging. All right, so then I get out my bead rolling tool. This is the middle size one. I don't know the measurements. I can't read what he put on the thing. So it's my preference size. And then you're just gonna, sometimes paper can be a little bit tricky getting it started. Then you're just gonna decide then you're just gonna start rolling your beads. And I do too, to decide if this is the size I want to use, or do I want to go with, and that's not a bad size bead. That's not a bad size bead at all. Now, again, tacky glue might work better than school glue at this point because, like I told you guys, we're working with a shiny sheen on, like a finish on this paper. This paper has got a really soft, satiny, silky, and it may take a minute to hold your ends down. It may take a minute. Now, you would think, because this is so colorful, this paper, that it would make the prettiest beads ever. In my opinion, they don't always make the prettiest beads. I don't consider this to be the prettiest bead I can make. It's okay. There's some blue, greens, and browns in it. Is it the prettiest beads ever? No, it's not. That might hold. So see, it made a good sized bead. And please excuse my hands. I painted a roof yesterday, a metal roof, and I have black paint all over me yet. I should have seen it yesterday. But that's the bead it made. See if I can do it this way. It's not a bad sized bead. It'll look nice with some wood beads or blue beads or green. So it'll be a nice bead. So like I said, I always do 2 of one size to decide. I do 2 to decide my size, but also if I do 2, I have a pair of earrings. So, because if I only did 1 bead of whatever size I'm thinking I might do, then I'd have all these straggler 1 beaders. So, I always do 2. That way I have a pair of earrings, like I said. You could pre-roll this end too, that might help. But it's the, see, it pops up. I just keep rolling it. And I just keep holding it. Eventually it will stop popping up. But look, these were taken side by side, cut off. And look how different they actually look. They actually look like 2 different, almost papers. Now, if I had cut these smaller, these would be great unisex beads. A guy could easily wear these. Okay, so those are done. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just keep going back and forth, cutting my paper. Let's see if we can do a... I don't think this would be much different. See, you have to be kind of careful because, like I said, they look like they'd be these beautiful beads because of all the color. But all that color gets kind of jumbled up. And then you have like, you don't have a pretty bead like if I just did that pink. We'll do some more of these. We'll go ahead and do the 2. I say 2. The 3/4 of an inch for a little bit. We'll go ahead and do those. some of those. You'll find a paper cutter that you like. This is my preference paper cutter. I've been using this one for years and years and years, to the point where it's getting hard to find. The replacement pieces, like the blades and the cutting. I don't know what they call it, but the little thing that goes where you cut. It's getting hard to find those things. I like working with food packaging. I think is my #1 favorite. And then I think I like working with book paper. Especially if you can get some of the really old kids' books where the paper is really thick. It has a different texture. It doesn't have the shiny sheen on it. I can't explain the texture. It had more of a texture of a construction paper. I also like using construction paper because I think when you dip construction paper, when you glaze it, especially if you use PC petrifier, I think it can get some variegated color to it. Like some sections of the bead will be darker than other sections. I think it has to do with whatever glue you're using when you roll it in glue down the end. I think it depends on how much glue you spread around the bead. I think. I don't know for sure, but that's my opinion. I did purchase the other day a brand new paper cutter, the kind, the finger cutter offers from Hobby Lobby when I went there. I have not broke it out yet. Because you get so used to using one particular cutter, and it's like, it's your tried and true. And this one happens to be my tried and true. I have 2 of them up here in Kentucky. And I have 2 in Florida. Like I said, once you get your favorite cutter, you don't want nothing to happen to your favorite cutter. All right, so I'm not going to waste this piece here. So I'm going to take it right to the edge of my cutter. And I'm actually going to see what that bead gives me when I roll it. Because this one is going to be, and yes, I may have a straggler bead here. I may have one plain bead by itself. But let me see what this, I did not have enough to do my regular one. This is just a little about 1/2 inch by 1/8. So let's see what that does in a bead. My tip right here is ripped. This is ripped. But that's not going to make a difference. As long as I can get it rolled, started getting it rolled, it won't make a difference because you'll never see it. This makes a nice little bead. Put glue on it. This makes a nice little bead. Just have to keep rolling it. Keep rolling it. Eventually, that will stop popping up. You have to hold it for a minute. These, like I said, this with the sheen on it does take a minute longer. It does take a minute longer. And even if you get your cutting off a little bit, like say you're just short of the 1/2 inch widthwise, don't worry about it if they're slightly off a little bit. Paper beads really don't have to be perfect. The more you do it and the more you get comfortable making beads, the more, I'm going to say, the more you'll find that your beads are more consistently the same size. And And the more you roll and the more, repetitive rolling, the more you get used to it, you'll even find that your rolls come out nicer too. They just do. And then again, you may not care, and you may want them rolled, however, and have them very organic, and that's fine too, because they're still all going to be pretty. So these now are the two different sizes I have at the moment. So if I cut up the next sheet of paper, and cut the strips at the number 1 on my cutter, I'll have 1/2 inch. So I'll have a nice bead too. So I may do that next. Then again, I may try something else next. Let me try cutting the paper. Let me get one that is very colorful. Okay, I'm going to get this one. I'm actually going to try cutting this one. I'm going to cut my edge off here and clean up my edge first, okay? This was the part where I cut it with the case cutter. So let me clean up my edge. Okay. So now I have, nice paper. I think this is going to have a lot of brown tones in it because of the colors that are in it. I'm going to cut my paper now to I'm not even going to go to the number 1. I'm going to cut it now close to the this plastic bar. So I had this plastic, I don't know if you can see it, plastic guard or whatever. I cut my paper right to that. Because my curiosity is, will I have a rounder bead if I do that? And I'm going to find out. So now my paper is, and this one actually got cut a little bit smaller. Now my paper is measuring at the fat end, roughly 1, 2, 3/8 wide, taking it all the way down to the point, okay? To a point. 3/8 to a point. So let's see what that does. See, that's the fun thing about using a book. You have so much paper. And by the time you roll up all the paper, you're going to have a kind of, they're going to all complement each other because they all came from the same book. Let's see if this is going to give me a little rounder bead. It's not. But it's going to give me a nice bead. Like I said, this would, sometimes the smaller the bead and the colors makes it a more unisex bead, more masculine colors. Because this is what I ended up with. So I could do a whole lot of those and use them as little accent beads beside other color beads down the road. So in other words, if I had brown construction paper and I made big bulky beads out of that, I could use this as accent paper. Accent beads. If I had some cardstock beads, like if I made beads out of solid colored cardstock, and say some of it was brown or cream, these beads would be great accent beads next to the big bulky beads. Or if I took, like, for instance, you have to look around at your thrift stores and stuff. This was bought at a thrift store, and it is, I think, a table runner. Imagine that bead with that as an accent. Cut this apart and put this bigger bead, and then use these as accent beads with it. That would be cool. Could use these little wooden beads next to it and you make a bracelet. So there's multiple things you can do with your paper beads, guys. Multiples. I have another. These are a little bit different, but these were something from a kitchen store. But they have holes in them. Imagine this. That would be a really big bracelet, though. I'm not sure. But imagine this piece is a necklace because the holes on the side and have paper beads hanging from it. You know, you'd be amazed at what you can find to use with your paper beads to give, especially if you're trying to go with the whole recycle, upcycle thing and give people a very organic, if you're trying to reach a certain demographic of people, you would get some really good organic looking products. So all you gotta do is just figure out how you want to cut your paper and cut your paper. Bet you if I'd done this, what if I'd done this size on the other direction, if I would have gotten a rounder bead. Let me see. Okay, so I got 2 cut. I said, cut 2 of everything, people. Cut 2 of everything. Let me find that. Okay, so let's try that with this. There's 2 pieces of paper here. Yeah, let's try that with this. Okay, so I'm just going to go that plastic guard into a point. See if I get a rounder bead. So this one is 3/8 of an inch wide. Maybe if you used a bigger rolling tool, you get a rounder bead too. Getting a little more rounded. It's a little rounder. Let me show y'all. So compared to the 2 beads, I think you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, or maybe you can see it on a toothpick. Maybe you can see the difference. I don't know if you can see the difference or not, but cutting from top to bottom, this is a rounder bead. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. This is a rounder bead. So this one was cut top to bottom with a 3/8 of an inch wide end and a pointed end. And this one was cut from side to side on the paper. And it's a little bit smaller. So it's just a matter of cutting your paper different ways. That's all you gotta do is just figure out how you want to cut your paper. Like I said, always do 2 of everything. So you at least have a pair of earrings or an accent bead for a pair of earrings. Now, if I had duplicates of this paper, I could roll 2 sheets of paper at the same time and get a thicker bead. But I don't have duplicates of this paper. And sometimes I find that if you do that with this kind of paper, your bead can get a little messy. Because you kind of need to cut the 2 sheets of paper together to get a nice double paper roll if your beads are not perfectly cut. Now, if you have a way of cutting your strips perfect, so every strip is the same size, well, then you wouldn't have that problem. And I hope I did not just confuse y'all. And I let my beads sit on toothpicks to dry. I just set them over here on toothpicks to dry. And especially since this paper's got a sheen on it, I'm going to want this paper to, I'm going to want my beads to sit for 24 hours before I glaze them. I just am. I find this very relaxing I find it very relaxing to sit and roll paper beads. I really do. I can get lost for hours doing this. For hours. And two, when I'm doing different sizes, I like to have the toothpicks out on the styrofoam, because that way I can separate my different sizes when I go to string them up to dip them, and I can put the same size beads on the same strand, because I leave my beads on strands until I start to use them. Just hold it for a minute. I hope this is helping some people, this videos. I really do. I hope it's helping people. It's just a little time consuming. I'm in the middle of making angels, so I want to see something. So I want to see if I took and made a cone bead, what would that look like? I'm curious. So this one is 3/4 to 1/8 at the end. So 3/4 fat, 1/8 skinny. I'm a pre-curl my skinny end. I just bend it. Just bend it. That's how you pre-curl. It might help with it sticking down better. Sometimes when you have paper that's a little bit harder to get it to stick, if you pre-curl your end, it helps. Making a cone bead. And I want a flat cone bead. I don't want a tapered round. So how I do that is I pretty much roll the cone shape, but you can tell that it's not perfectly flat in the bottom yet. So once I get see, that stuck down better. Once I get my end down, I take it off my rolling tool, and then I just, it unrolled on me. It didn't have it. So I just got to re-roll it. That happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us. I didn't hold that end down long enough. Well, that's a nice tapered roll bottom, so I might leave it. Because these make great like teardrop earrings. So I think I'll leave it. I got a really nice tapered bottom round. See how that is? See how nicely that is? Nice taper down. I don't know what they call I don't know the different names, but I would call this a tapered cone because it's nicely round tapered cone. That's what I would call it. Be very careful not to push that bottom end to flatten it. Because I don't use glue all the way down my strip, you're able to still manipulate the shape of the bead. But I don't want to mess that up. So let me do another one of those. They would make a nice pair of earrings. Pre-roll my end because it seems to be helping better. See, just curl it a little bit. And then start to roll your... For some reason, sometimes if you're using one of these slotted rollers, sometimes the paper does not want to start off. So you just have to work with it for a minute. I think it's because the paper's so slicky. I'm going to restart this one. I want that nice taper roll. Yep, got a nice taper roll there. Put glue on the end. You can get these at the Dollar Tree. At least you can in Florida. I haven't looked up here in Kentucky. Just hold my end for a minute. And now between these two beads, I have a pair of earrings. All I have to do is put a rhinestone or a crystal right here. Put a crystal or solid color bead right there. Put this up. You do not have to use a bead cap because you've got a nice round taper. You could put a cone bead cap at the top and you would have a very nice pair of dangle earrings. Take that off. I don't like that bottom though. I'm tapping it because I thought it was sticking out a little bit too much. That's better. See, nice tapered round. Put that on my toothpick. Now I'm gonna show you how to do a flat cone. I've been making angel earrings, and I'll do a video on those here soon. Like I said, it's a little more challenging to use book. But I think it's worth it because you're not. The nice thing about using a book that's, you know, no good. You're not going and buying paper from the store. You're recycling something that is no good to nobody anymore. Okay, so we're going to turn this into a flat cone. This is a nice bead by itself right here, but I got more taper this way than this way. So how I turn this into a cone is I take it off my bead tool to make sure that's not going to unroll on me. And then the end that I want to flatten, I just push it down on top of a tabletop. And then I have a nice, clean, flat cone bead. I have a nice, clean one. Sometimes if you try to roll that flat side, you don't get a nice, clean surface flat. You get maybe where some of the rolls are inside the roll, but you get a very nice, clean, flat bead that way. Very nice, clean, flat bead. Nice and flat. And then you can do whatever you want with it. You can leave it like that, or after you glaze, or just before you glaze, depending on how you want to do it. You could put a little silver paint or gold paint or colored paint there to cover up the rolls. You can do whatever you want. I don't do that. If I'm going to do anything, I will do it after I put this in PC Petrifier because I want all my paper to get the PC Petrifier. And if I put anything on it now and it flakes off later, possibly, my PC Petrifier has not been on that part. So I don't do anything. I don't do anything to that. Knock the bead off. Like I said, I just keep them separated because I know how many beads I can string up on my strings before I dip them. Let's do that one more time. Let's do another flat one. So let's cut 3/8 on the fat end and 1/8 on the skinny end. Okay. Let me move this out of the way. I'll show you that again. Okay, remember, we're going to pre-curl the skinny end. Just pre-curl it. See, just pre-curl it. And then we're going to start at the fat end. And children, before you do this on your own, Ask your parent before cutting up a book. My daughter tells me I have to read every book before I can cut it up. That's what she tells me. This actually has really nice round taper. But for sake of showing you guys, I will go ahead and squish it. It's a very nice round taper. Okay. Take it off. So you got a round taper. And what you're going to do is you're going to push it down on the tabletop or flat surface, or you can do it with your fingers. I don't do it against my bead tool because when they put that piece of metal in, there's a slight raised up edge. I guess I could put a little metal washer on the end of this, and that way I could just push it against that. But see how I have a nice flat surface. So that makes for a very nice bead. And then this will make an angel body. Or a nice pair of earrings. If you did this and then put a spacer bead of some kind in there, or a bead cap in there or something, and then put a crystal or bead in the bottom, that would be a gorgeous pair of earrings too. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish cutting up my book and make beads out of it. I hope this helped everybody and showed you that you can use old school books too to make beads. So I hope it helped. These will be really pretty glazed up, but if you think about it, they're not as pretty as you would think they were because there's just so much color going on. If these colors weren't so busy, I think you would have I mean, these are pretty, don't get me wrong. I think you'd have a prettier bead. But they're still pretty. They're still pretty. I like the Disney books because of the fact that they use such colors. They make great unisex beads, especially for guys. They make great beads for working with wood beads because their colors are so bold. Tired. So that's what I'm gonna work on, and I will see you guys in the next video. Remember to like and subscribe the videos, and art is created, so go out there and create some art, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, y'all, I wanted to show you the final beads that came out of that storybook. This magical moments, Disney's Magical Moments Look and Find It book. So I did not do the pink pages. I still have them set aside. So I did not do the front and back pages right here. So, I mean, I could have done this one, but I'll do this another time. But this is what I got out of the book in general. So, this is what I got. I made some, 3/4 inch ones, 1/2 inch beads. These are a little bit smaller than 1/2 inch. And I made some cones, 2 kinds. I made the teardrop cone or the tapered cone. And then I did a flat end cone. I've been using flat end cones for angels right now. So that's what I ended up with. Like 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Like 21 strands of beads. And they're 8-inch. No, yeah, they're 8-inch strands. So what have I just said? 20-something strands of beads. So I've got to dip them in PC Petrifier and glaze them yet. But that's what I ended up with. I finished them late last night, so I probably won't dip them for a day or two because, like I said, there's a glossy sheen on the paper. And I don't want to get that school glue wet and it to reactivate it and cause it to pop loose. So I'll wait a couple days, and it's chilly up here at the schoolhouse. but I wanted to share what it came out looking like. So if you like my channel, like and subscribe. And remember, art is creative, so go out and create some art. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.